a little over a month ago, when I left for the summer, I set myself a challenge. By picking the topic of play for today's sermon, I knew, because I know how my mind works, that I would be giving myself the lens for the summer. And that lens for this summer was play. Now, I need to be really clear, I did many things that were not play. I did a lot of learning of new technology, since my old tech was driving me and most people who had to work with me a little bit mad. And I did a lot of filing and quite a bit of cleaning, although I found that that's more like play when you make Lizzo your summer music idol. Her song, About Damn Time, was right on point with the dusting. I visited with some of you around some hard things, and as many of us did, I made some time with friends and family my priority. And sometimes I could get them to play with me, and then, well, dogs, dogs always seem to be willing to play. I've got a few images I'll share from my summer. I started with why not play for this sermon, because that was the question I found myself wrestling with so many times. I learned in this summer that I set an intention to play, that I have a million reasons that I can come up with not to play. I need to paint the house. I really need to clean the garage, and I really do. I really need to finish the edits on the book project. I really need to call this person or figure out that IRS thing. And can we talk about the Supreme Court and the devastation of war and too many people I love having COVID? And did I mention the Supreme Court and the state of democracy and this worrisome extreme weather? I could come up with a million reasons why play was not a good idea. I needed to mourn the people I still miss every day. I needed to make waffles. I needed to water the redwood. Really, though, when you think about this world, why not play? We need play, I believe. And as one discovers hanging around with toddlers, as I got to do this summer, watching one kick into high gear engagement with the world, play is, as Jean said, it's how we learn. It's how we teach ourselves. It's how we try new things, like trying to ride your toddler bike backwards, which turned out not to be the best idea, but that's okay. It's how we explore and how we find wonder and awe. Writer and poet Diana Ackerman writes, "Play is an activity enjoyed for its own sake. It is our brain's favorite way of learning and maneuvering. Much of human life unfolds as play." Now, if you think about it that way, as I tried to do, play becomes, sort of like an imperative. It gets on the to-do list. This is probably not good, but anyway, we just work with what we've got. For me, it was bocce and baking and dancing and cards and Scrabble and deepening some old friendships and making some new ones. There was my third 45-day fitness challenge. One of these days, I'll make it through the whole 45 days. It was the annual Sacramento River Cats game with my friend Beth. You saw an image of that, she was also the one who gave me the idea about the beach ball, so if you hated that, blame Beth. And there was mini golf and the Route 66 diner with a new friend and train trips, which are really a lot of play when they're on time. There was watching birds bathe and preen and agitate around a fountain with my mother and being out in the amazing playground of nature. There was a few minutes of painting, and it was literally like a few minutes of painting. I said to myself, I should paint. I tried, nah. There was making a bench from scrap lumber and an herb garden out of an old pallet. And there was exploring new paths with Crystal Ball, the baleful bully breed. And there was music. Always music. So, take a moment and remember your last month. Where was the play in that month? Can you think about it? Do you know where it was? It's always good to go on swings, just to remind you of that. Play teaches us to cope with the unexpected. Diana Ackerman, who's done her share of extreme sports, writes that we actually need a particular kind of play to encourage us to get out of the ruts of our lives and take risks. I went into the summer knowing how much I needed to rest and how much, at some existential level, we all need to rest. But because I had that play lens on, what I found was that I needed play almost as much as I needed rest. And in fact, they were very, very intertwined. Ironically, the TED Radio Hour just concluded a 3-part series, which they called Work, Play, and Rest. Go figure. And, that did make me think that it's true what people say, that your smart devices are spying on you in your home, but that's okay. What they concluded is that we as a society allow work to take up all the space that play used to occupy when we were children, and that we have become more and more prone to doing that, even in retirement, where we make the tasks of enjoyment into lists and less into play. Anyone, aside from me, guilty of something in this field? Yes, in this area. So like that proverbial frog in the pot, we've let work kind of creep into all the crevices of our lives, all the places where we used to play and rest. London-based multi-instrumentalist Jacob Collier, who is a 5-time Grammy Award winner, is the one who wrote the song that Andrea gifted us with. And he believes that an approach that's based on play rather than practicing was why he continued to be a musician. And he continued to try not just the piano where he started, but many, many, many instruments, because the emphasis was always in his household on making it playful and making it fun. It wasn't an obligation. The song that Andrea played for us, he actually wrote as a voice memo on his phone. And then he went into the studio and tried to create a very complicated version of it, and he found it had lost all its playfulness. So he recorded on his album the voice memo from his phone. And it was one that people have enjoyed. He says that when we allow ourselves to keep the play in play, we allow ourselves wonder, and that is an essential part of our lives. So why not play? The reasons always are there. We are too old, we are too young, we are too busy, we are too slow, we don't like being hit in the head with a beach ball, we are too busy taking care of our kids, our parents, our neighbors. Too many issues in the world need our time. We are sad that the people we used to play with are no longer around, and we have no idea where to meet new playmates. We think we might look silly. We think we are being disrespectful to those who are going through hard times, who are around us in our inner circle, or to that part of ourself that's going through a hard time. There are a million reasons we can give ourselves. So think about it, though, which I did a lot this summer. And I concluded that not much is certain in this world, but I'm pretty certain that if we don't lighten our hearts somehow, on a regular basis, with all that is going on, the creativity, resilience, positivity, and persistence we need just to get through these days is not going to be possible. So think about sticking around for just a little while after the service and maybe playing a game or meeting someone new for just a few minutes, because that's how we make the connections, and this is a great place to find new playmates. When I was in upper elementary school, my mother became a single parent, and so she had to go back to work. We weren't still in school, so she sent us to camp that first summer. We went to Northover Camp. It was just a few miles from our house. We didn't see exotic animals. We didn't learn coding. As far as I can remember, we went swimming, we did some really lame arts and crafts, and we mostly sat in the dark cabin and collected mosquito bites and played spit and war using actual playing cards, and we did hand clapping games. Anyone out there remember hand clapping games? Okay. Well, Andrea is going to help me demonstrate this, and we're going to invite you to sing along with us. And as you do, if that part of your voice is saying, this is really stupid, then just remember, you may need to find your spirit of play. We have the lyrics, I believe. This is practice playing. If you know this and someone near you knows this, you could join us. Join us. Ready? Say, oh playmate, Come out and play with me. I hear someone singing, and bring your dollies 3. Climb up my apple tree. Slide down my rain barrel into my cellar door. And you'll be jolly friends forevermore. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the part we had in art. There are different versions of it. There we go. That's great. Thank you. Thank you. There's a second verse, but we'll. Did anyone out there try it? Yep. There you go. There you go. Thank you, Carla. I appreciate that. I think it's important for us to continue to remember the things that we have that are buried in our heads that we have forgotten about. A philosophy that even this song acknowledges that there are things that are hard. The second verse says, say, oh playmate, I cannot play with you. My dolly has the flu. Boo-hoo, boo-hoo, boo-hoo. So there you go. So it's all there in the games that we teach one another. I'm pretty sure that Brett and Andrea and Maura will agree that this has not necessarily been passed down generation to generation because of the musicality of it. It's something about our need to connect and something about our need to be whimsical. And we, sometimes in this world, lose our opportunities to do that very quickly. Did you feel foolish singing that? Did you feel silly? Were you embarrassed for me and Andrea? Even though we did practice, I want you to know. But it's deeply ingrained. We had different endings that we had learned in our different phases of life. So in case you felt that, then it's important to find that again, that spirit of play. And I did research this, and unlike other childhood clapping games, as far as I can tell, this one has no awful history of describing a pandemic, because we did not do Ring Around a Rosie. You noticed that, right? I thought that wouldn't really be appropriate. So now I'm going to ask that other question, why play? So first of all, play truly is hardwired into us as living beings. So many of the early moments of my days this summer, I watched Moby Squirrel, the wizened, truly gigantic creature who lives to taunt my dogs. And on a walk this summer along West Cliff in Santa Cruz, I watched with my play lens on as gangs of dogs played along the shoreline. In 3s and 4s and 5s, they galloped and leaped and they bit at the waves, having as much fun as the groups of children doing the same thing. There was one moment that I particularly remember, and it's one that I think you've seen when you're at the beach, if those of you who have done this. A wave will crest, and you can see everything that is within the wave for just an instant. And as I was walking by, for just an instant, I saw an entire black lab. It was sort of submerged, and I remembered in that moment what it was like to ride the waves as a teen, and then that moment of suspended peace right after you're dumped into the surf, which that lab was very unceremoniously. And let me just say, labs can carry a lot of sand. That's all I can say. Let's look at a few more pictures. One of the things that Ackerman says is that we need play, and that can include just being out and enjoying the whimsy of nature. If we are to survive as a species and as a people with a few that want to affirm one another's worth and dignity, we're going to have a lot of unplayful time, we're pretty clear. We'll have to face more of the change that we've already grumbled about and more of the loss, as the summer has shown us. We'll have to learn to work together in new ways and new coalitions, and play could help keep us limber. Activist Jana Buehler-Tavernier believes that playful approaches to calling attention to injustice might be the way to go. From a difficult childhood in communist Bulgaria, she became a journalist, and then she wrestled with tough and horrible facts that led her to extreme burnout. She says she learned that play was the best cure for it. The opposite of play, she says, isn't work, it is depression. The opposite of play isn't work, it is depression. She calls what she does now, which is a sort of form of street theater, she calls it playtivism. And she says, when we play, others want to join. For us, play is an act of resistance. When we play, we learn. She and her group uses drama and humor and games to teach about serious issues such as human rights and fake news. For example, they set up an entire bakery that what they called a fakery. And they sent out fake news that it was being run by the most important chef in Bulgaria. And then they had people come in for a taste test, and they all were so excited, and they sat down, were all excited and willing, just on the basis of that fake news, to bite into these cupcakes, which were made with fish oil and hot pepper and stinky cheese. They showed the power of fake news right through that plativism right there. So play can be a meeting ground. It can be a way we get to know each other. I hope a way that we get to know each other across generations, because I think we need more ways to get to know each other across generations. And Stuart Duncan is someone who says we should spend some time and teach generationally each other the ways we like to play. Jean mentioned this when she mentioned video games, right? That there are many of us that may not understand the full joy of the kinds of digital play that is now so prominent, and there are others of us that may never have actually held a deck of cards. Maybe we could be teaching one another. Duncan has built a Minecraft space for kids who are on the autism spectrum and their families so that they can play without bullying that they encounter in other spaces. He says too many parents and grandparents just lament the video games and don't take time to ask the kids in their lives what they gain from them, what they like, why they feel empowered there. And that's an important conversation. Diana Ackerman's book is called Deep Play, and she notes that originally the idea of play was about something risky, and it also involved a pledge to do something risky. That was play. She looked at extreme sports, at engagement with the natural world, and also at religion, which she believes is exactly that. A form of play, deep play, a pledge to do something risky. She says all games and religions impose an order on the world, a certain attitude that must be adopted, ethical codes, rules of conduct. Submission is always an element of such devotion, but so is the freedom to create. Problem solve in new ways and take action to help oneself or others. Deep play, she says, helps us focus on our life and our experience at its ecstatic moments. And we have one more set of slides. She says that jogging because you know it's good for you is not deep play. Repeating prayers or singing hymns that have grown stale is not deep play, but dancing is, and making art. Making and imbibing music, being inspired by the natural world, and having new experiences that challenge us. Ackerman says that's what we need to survive. This world will break our heart, it seems, on a regular basis. Sometimes it seems like it does so almost every day. And yet, because I have the honor of talking to many of you, I have faith that together we can be playmates for one another in the way of that deep and risk-taking way that will be renewing and give us sustenance throughout this year. So let's play. Let's use every form of knowing and learning and being that we can, and especially those that help us remember that there is joy in this world. And as we build the container of this year together in this community, after you all finish your surveys, I know we will continue to remember the worth in the deep play of worshiping and creating and activating and playvating together, working for justice, and just being together. We will keep learning because learning is what we do. And I hope some of you will come forward today or in the next weeks and say that you'd like to be part of our Play and Fun team this year, because that's something I think we really need. Now, while cleaning the garage this summer, I found this. I don't know what you call these. Anyone of these ever seen one of these or have one of these? Yeah, that one is like a little. That was mine as a child. It's had some decades on it. So, but when I became a mom for the first time, I got this one. It's a Jacob's ladder, and it came with my kid. So I plan to give it to my daughter from my grandson, because I don't know what it is, but clearly it's something that every child is supposed to come with. I think that's sort of the way it is, We can't know the answers to everything, and I think this is not the worst of the legacies that we will leave to those who come after us. So let's be compassionate and wise and truth-affirming and able to hear one another's truths. Let us be honest and vulnerable and real. Let us live into our values and make the most of every precious minute of every day. Let's make our efforts count, and together, and individually. Let's play.